Hi everybody, thank you for taking the time and watching this video. My name is Adnan. I am part of Infrastructure Solutions Group at Dell EMC Networking, and I'm responsible for software-defined networking. I run the product management as well as the go-to-market globally. So it's a great opportunity, and I wanted to talk to you today about what Dell EMC Networking is doing from a software-defined networking perspective, or what you can hear about open networking initiative that we have. It's about a 10-minute talk, and we're going to start with what is our objective, what are we trying to get done, and where we are in this journey, and where we want to get it to. Essentially, in a nutshell, our goal is to make switch as simple as a server. Think of it like a server with maybe 32 ports abstracted, and that's what we are trying to get to. And everything that we want to do is going towards that direction. The second thing is that if you take a look at software-defined networking, and a lot of companies are looking at how to approach this space, our focus is to go after the first letter, which is software. So about two and a half years ago, we started on this journey called the open networking journey. And the idea was that if you take a look at what happened in the compute industry a decade or a little over a decade ago, we started moving from mainframe-based models to x86-based computing models. And what happened was your operating system on the compute platform was not tied to the hardware, and you had a choice of operating system that you want to run on your compute platform. And then the application ecosystem thrived, and what happened was your applications were tied to the OS, not to the underlying hardware. And I think for the majority of the part, we can agree that x86 is the new computing standard that is out there. The reason why I wanted to give you that context is, if you think about it, that is exactly what we are trying to do to networking. Now, what we did was we started with this journey where we said we are going to break the barrier and the vertically integrated lock that exists currently in the networking industry back in end of 2013 or 2014. And we started giving customers a choice of an operating system that they want to run on our data center switching platforms, because until then, you had no way to go do that. If you worked with any major OEM, you had to get that platform, and the hardware, the silicon, and the OS were all tied together. So the first thing we did, we went down the merchant silicon road. We completely moved away from designing our own ASICs, and again, for everything, think like compute. And that was the first thing we did, and that was done over 5-6 years ago. Then we announced our partnership with Cumulus Networks, which is a third-party operating system. And the reason for doing that is we think that enterprises are moving to a direction where automation, DevOps are becoming increasingly important, right? Traditional networking needs to move in that direction, and that is exactly the power that software-defined networking enables. So Cumulus is a Linux-based operating system. If you are a Linux-based shop and you're running Linux on your servers, and you have automated your server infrastructure with Chef, Ansible, Puppet, it ties very naturally into that. So you can actually manage your networking infrastructure and monitor and provision it exactly the same way like you do your servers. And that was the value. When we started this, this really took off. And we realized that we have our customers are going through the transformation, which is what we call the digital transformation, and it also requires workforce transformation, and that doesn't happen overnight. So we have customers that were asking for solutions and that did not have Linux expertise. So how do you go approach that? In that situation, we basically announced that we will start supporting Big Switch as an operating system on top of our switching platform, and essentially it is what the name means, the Big Switch. Think of like a traditional chassis. Instead of running the control plane on supervisory modules, you basically run the control plane on 2 servers, and your switches become forwarding plane, and anything you want to do, either through CLI, API, or the user interface, you basically log on to the server and you basically configure your network, and it rolls it out to all the switching infrastructure in a leaf, spine, class, fabric fashion. And you never have to actually touch a switch again. So you add a new rack, you basically add the leaf node, it goes and gets everything from the controller, and you're done. And that is something that enabled one-touch provisioning in the infrastructure. And again, think compute. Your hardware and software are not tied together, right? You have that choice. We then announced a partnership with Pluribus Networks for scenarios where you need deep analytics. And I think analytics is very important for the infrastructure. And if you want to build a fabric but you don't want a controller. And for controllerless fabrics, that is the technology that we partnered with. And the last one is IP infusion. For us, we are doing that because we think MPLS from a commodity silicon standpoint can be supported now, and we are basically going after the MPLS part of the infrastructure with that technology. Now, let's step back a second. What we have done, we don't think that one size fits all, but we don't want to give this to you as a value, as a menu card as well. I think what you need to do is, based on your workforce, based on your use case, based on where you want to go, you pick the right OS, you pick the right hardware, and you basically break the vendor lock-in. And that is something that we are encouraging and enabling. The second thing is we have our own operating system, which traditionally was the Dell OS 9. We also announced OS 10, which I'll talk about in a second. And we are going to continue to do that for customers that actually want to get Dell EMC on Dell EMC solution. From a perspective of your transformation, if you are working on a project and if you want to start with traditional and move to software defined, your investment in the infrastructure is protected. So if you can go with OS 9 or OS 10, and if you choose to change the operating system at a later point, all you have to do is to get a software license, and your infrastructure is protected. So I think we all agree that we have to get there, but we are all on different timelines based on our profiles and our risks and projects. And that is the thing that we are trying to solve with this infrastructure protection initiative that we have, that we are not going to ask you to rip and replace the hardware. So this is what we have done. I think we have seen a lot of adoption across the globe, across all segments of the market. It's actually very exciting. The question then becomes, what do you do next? So we have been working on OS 10, which we announced a couple of months ago, which is a Linux-based operating system, which is going to be our next generation operating system across all our platforms. And it is a few things about OS 10. It is an unmodified Linux kernel. We basically also have it supports SAI, which is a standard that we are driving in the OCP community, and to drive more standardization of how to talk to silicon underneath. And on top of it, OS 10 sits, and it northbound, it provides CPS APIs for people to develop applications and actually make it easier for network applications to come on top of the OS 10. And now where we want to get to is, we believe that as containers become more prevalent, as you see more adoption of that, container-aware networking is going to come in. A lot of L4 to 7 applications are going to come as containers on top of the switching infrastructure, and we want to enable that. And in order for us to get that done, we basically contributed the OS 10 source code to the OCP project together with Microsoft under Sonic, and to the Linux Foundation under the OpenSwitch project. And what we are enabling is, and we are working with application providers out there to basically encourage development of applications on top of the OS 10 infrastructure. And you have to do open source, because that is to break the vendor lock-in. Now, the same OS 10, if you want to download the code, you can get it today. If you are an enterprise and you want support and you don't have the skill sets to get it done, you can actually buy the support, the enterprise edition, and it'll work. From our perspective, the way to think about this is, we have to get that code in the open source, right? Because it is the same exact code that exists in our enterprise version. So, I mean, on one side, we have our own operating system. You can go traditional with the whole OS 10 stack. On the other side, we support third-party operating systems, and on the far right, which I call complete DevOps, we support open source if you have the skill set and the resources to go operationalize that. So, in about 10 minutes, I thought it gives you a good overview as to what we are doing from an open networking perspective. I think it's very exciting times for the industry. I want to thank you for taking the time and listening to this. Have a good day, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are.